Hello, my dudes. This is Karima again with one more build for God of War Ragnarok. This is going to be a similar build to my previous Bifrost Storm build, but in this case, it's going to be more focused on something else that the previous video wasn't. In this case, we are going to have not that much damage output in terms of runic attack, but what we will have is way more cooldown. So we'll be getting our runic attacks much faster, therefore we'll be able to use these more often, therefore getting more Storms of Bifrost in the process, while dishing out some damage. So this is the build as it is. In this case, I decided to call it the cooldown storm madness build, if you want to. So this is the chest piece I'm using, the spiritual shoulder straps, which says runic or relic attacks. Hits stack a buff, increasing Kratos melee and range damage by 15% with each stack, and this increases to a maximum of 3 stacks. For the wrist and the waist, we are using the Berserker set, which the wrist says low luck chance for successful hits to cause a soul explosion, dealing damage and restoring some cooldown of the relic, which is one of the things we want to achieve, is to get our relic back. And for the waist, taking damage, blocking, and parrying all have a moderate luck chance to cause a soul explosion, dealing damage and restoring some cooldown of the relic. Let me make it very clear right now that this soul explosion you get from this, I mean, it's insignificant. The damage that it does, it's so tiny that doesn't really make a dent. And as for the amulet, we are using the Niflheim set, the Muspelheim set. These increase the melee damage when permafrost annihilation or maelstrom skills are fully charged based on runic. We have 265 runic, so it's not too bad, does the job. This one says increases melee damage when he's above 75% health based on defense. We have 337, not a lot, but considering that we are not planning to get hit when fighting the Berserker King or the Valkyrie Queen, this will always be active. For the remaining 3, because this is again based on the Seal of Runic Storm, which says using runic attacks of 3 different weapons in quick succession grants a buff, increasing stagger resistance, and creates a Storm of Bifrost. The Sigil of Doom is also helpful. This one changes before I kill the Berserker. I use, instead of this one, I use the emblem of the 9 realms, because I will be using realm shifts, so therefore we increase the melee damage during realm shifts. Once we kill the Berserker, we change it to the Sigil of Doom, which says Axe and Blades melee attacks against hex enemies have a high luck chance to trigger bonus Sigil elemental explosions. We'll be mainly using Sigil arrows with Freya, so this can be helpful for extra damage. The attuned runic gem says that increases the damage of runic attacks when the permafrost emulation or maelstrom skill gauges are fully charged. We will be doing so many runic attacks that this benefits us massively. As for the weapons, we are using on the Leviathan the runic hailstone knob, which says moderate luck chance on hitting a frosted enemy to gain a blessing of runic. We are using the light runic attack Njord's Tempest, and again Ivaldi's Anvil for the heavy runic attack. If you notice the cooldown of these, the first one has 40 seconds, this one has 60 seconds. This comes from the fact that we have 224 cooldown, which is quite good considering that we also have 265 runic. And also we have 190 luck. So our stats are quite balanced, meaning that our melee damage is not going to be massive, our runic damage is not going to be massive, but all put together, there's an harmony in the build, because you can continuously do sustainable damage from all sorts of sources, and the buffs that you get from pretty much everywhere will keep you going as well. For the blades, I'm using the Pommels of the True Flame, which says increases the damage of the blade's runic attacks when the emulation skill Dodge is fully charged. For the runic attacks, I'm using the Rampage of the Furies for the light runic attack. When I'm fighting the Valkyrie, I use the Tame the Beast for the heavy runic attack. When I'm fighting the Berserker, I'm using the Nemean Crush. As for the spear, I'm using the mighty Olympic Staraughter, detonating thrown spears by pressing triangle as a moderate low chance to increase strength and stagger resistance. For the light runic attack, I'm using the thrust of 1,000 soldiers. For the heavy, it depends. When I'm fighting the Gna, I'm using the Finger of Ruin. When I am fighting the Berserker, I use Honor of the Fallen. As for the shield, we are using the Dauntless Shield, again with my absolute favorite, the Round of Disruption, which has a low luck chance to create an elemental storm when interrupting double blue ring attacks or parrying. So this is when the luck stat comes very in handy. With 190 luck, this does tend to trigger quite often. Not all the time, but I would say that every 3 to 4 parries you might get one, or interrupting blue ring attacks that also works. For the Spartan Rage, we are using Wrath because it's handy to come out of a tight situation in case you miss a parry. The Relic we are using, as I explained previously, after we kill the Berserker King, the Hilt of Skofnug. Before we kill the Berserker King, we use the Hilt of Ofun, which distorts space and time, creating a realm shift. As for Freya, we are using the Sigil Punishment, which says melee attacks against an enemy afflicted with Hex deal significantly increased damage. Sigil Amplification, which says the Sigil arrows deal significantly increased status. And the Noct Proficiency, every third runic arrow fires an additional 3 arrows. For the summons, I'm using the Steel Harmony for both fights. It's got a 100-second cooldown. It's very useful. As for the sword, I always use Mardol as per usual. I'm just going to do a quick run of the challenge bosses for you guys to have a quick look of how this works against multiple targets instead of just one boss. But the idea of this build, just so you know, is that keep doing runic attack, get them back, activate those permafrosts whenever and when possible. I don't mind getting this damage. Detonate for the bonus. He dies from the perma. But if you look on the bottom left, we got a lot going on in terms of bonuses. Storm of Bifrost still going from the parry. Another Storm of Bifrost. Couldn't tell where the guy was. He's down. Because of the cooldown we have and the buffs we keep getting, you can see that we've got the light runic attacks back already. So I'm gonna go for those. Completely annihilating this guy. I almost feel sorry for it. No, they're not. The Storm of Bifrost will deal with that. And he's dead. And I got his Bifrost on my spear, because that's just awesome. Bifrost spears or something else. So that gives you an idea of how quickly you get your runic attacks back, which you are about to see as well when I'm fighting the Berserker and Gna. I have access to a lot of runic attacks, constantly doing runic attacks. The only time I am not doing runic attacks, it's after I trigger the Storm of Bifrost with the 3 runic attacks. So during these 14 seconds of Storm of Bifrost, it's the only time that I will not be doing runic attacks, because if you do, you will be wasting it, because this will not activate a second time if you have already activated it, activated this one through the runic attacks. If you had activated this one from a parry, it's a different story. If you interrupt a blue ring attack or you parry and you get a Storm of Bifrost from the shield, you can do the runic attacks because you will activate a second Storm of Bifrost. So in that case, I will continue to do so. Anyway, Detonator's Might is one of my favorite buffs in this build. I will now showcase the build performing against the Berserker King and Gna. Please stay tuned. If you do have any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments down below. But now let's watch these fights. Right, so let's summon this Berserker and focus on doing those 3 runic attacks. Parry, parry, and first runic attack, this time the light with a spear. We explode the spears, we swap for the axe, light runic attack with the axe, we swap for the blades, but before that we activate the realm shift. By the end of this we change back for the axe, we activate the permafrost and we do a bit of damage. And just like that, 3 health bars are gone. Parry, parry, a bit more of permafrost damage. Now that we don't have the relic, the storm activated, we are going to focus on trying to get another 3 runic attacks, but because he's the Berserker King, he just likes to fight from a distance, so we're gonna have to try to rage here to save our asses, and now it's gonna go for the runic attacks. Heavy runic attack with the axe, another one with the blades, and finally with the spear. We activate another Storm of Bifrost, we have the Relic Refresh again, the Arcane Strength is also popped up, we bring him down with the axe, a bit more damage, try to parry at least 1 or 2 of these, maybe we get an Elemental Storm, we didn't unfortunately, light runic with the axe, light runic with the blades, and finally light runic with the spear. We detonate the spears, we get the Detonator's Might, and he is down. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but the amount of buffs we get on that left side of the screen through the fight is just insane. Now for Gna, here we go. Running attack, parry, heavy runic with the spear. We change for the blades, we do the heavy runic, and at the same time we hold the square button for Freya's summon, and then we change for the axe for the last heavy runic. We activate Buffnode, we activate Permafrost, we detonate Gna as much as we can. Look at the amount of buffs we keep getting. Gotta dodge these. Now the light runic with the axe, light runic with the blades. Oh, she managed to escape the light runic with the spear, but we still get the Storm of Bifrost, so it's not a complete loss. Oh, nice dodge. Nice dodge. Activate Permafrost, dish some damage, activate Storm of Bifrost by shield bashing the blue ring attack. We get a nice dodge. Block these. She's just one hit away, so we do the axe for the finish, and she's gone. If you haven't yet, consider subscribing, and this is Kadina. Cheerio!